right, guys, welcome to the Bearzi podcast. This is episode 27 with my friend Jonas Raymond, who is a personal trainer and businessman from Pennsylvania. Is that right? Pennsylvania. Oh, awesome, man. I see you got the MTJ Wellness shirt. That's the brand name and the logo?
Yeah, that's my brand, my business, my fitness studio that I own, which is also online. So I do a lot of, I have programs online. I do consultations around fitness, weight loss area, but this is primarily the main brand, the business brand, besides the personal brand, which is My Trainer Jonas. So the My Trainer Jonas Wellness, that's the studio portion of it with the programs.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
So for anyone that's watching this or listening to this, Jonas has a YouTube channel. And I think I watched one of your videos the other day, and you're talking about how you started in accounting, and then you kind of use your knowledge and skills you got from college or university. Then you kind of used those skills and started your business. And so how did that journey start, or when did it start?
The weight loss training journey, or the business in particular? Because that's two. So I've been a weight loss trainer for 8+ years now. I was working a lot of warehouse jobs, and as far as I can remember, I've always been ambitious. So I was working a lot of warehouse jobs. Wasn't really liking the warehouse job, so then I decided, you know what? After 2 or 3 years of high school, I decided, I'm going to try college out. And so I did go to school for accounting. I didn't really get the finish because while I was there, I noticed that, luckily for me, the accounting professor that I had, she would tell us some of the things. And so she had worked as a professor, but then she was in the field for 30 years. But then she came back to training. So she would give us the educational stuff that she had to teach in the classroom. And then she would give us the real life stuff. And so when she would give us the real life stuff, a lot of the stuff that she was talking about, I realized that I was more into financial and managerial accounting, which I didn't understand at the time. I just knew what it was. And, but once they started talking about taxation and all that stuff, I lost interest. And I didn't realize that I was actually supposed to go for finance, because I actually had a cousin of mine who was working on Wall Street for one of the financial companies out there, and she was going to get me in, and she knew I was good with numbers and I loved investments and money management and stuff like that, because ever since I was in school, ever since I was a young kid, I've always been into that. So I went into accounting not realizing that it was finance that I was supposed to go for, but that was later on that I realized it, a few years later. But while I was there, once they got into taxation, I said, oh, this is not for me. And so I was starting to question, was college really for me or not? And so I went to go see one of my guidance counselors at the time, and luckily I came across one who was actually genuinely interested in really trying to help me and really trying to help students. And so, I said I was also interested in fitness, so I got into fitness. I was asking about that, and then she ended up telling me, well, if you're trying to go to work for a hospital or something like that, then you would get a degree, which the focus at the time was exercise science. And so she told me if I wanted to go work for a hospital or something, then I'd have to get the degree. If I just wanted to become a trainer, which is what I was interested in, she said, Jonas, by the time 2 years into your degree, half of the information was going to be obsolete. And so I said, well, I don't want to waste money, nor do I want to work in a hospital. I just want to train. And so she talked about certifications and certifying agencies that I could go and find credible certs to get. And I remember going up to the YMCA, my local YMCA in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I talked to the wellness director, Mike Rickard, at the time, and I asked him, I said, hey, Mike, what do I have to do to become a trainer? He said, well, get this certification and get this certification, which was one of the ones that he had, but he also promoted some other credible ones. And I said, okay, I'll be back as soon as I get it. So a year later, I showed up with the certification, with my everything that I needed, and I dropped it on his desk, and I said, do you remember me? He said, "Yeah, I remember you." I said, "Yeah, I came to you a year ago," and so I got into it. That's how I got into it. From yeah,
Wow, that's
from
awesome.
warehouse to accounting, and then getting into fitness, and which was a long kind of a journey because once I got into it, I realized after maybe about a year and a half, 2 years, some people were getting results, but then others wasn't getting results, and I was just wondering to myself, like, what, I started to question whether it was me, was I doing something wrong? And so I went back in for a nutrition fitness certification so to get a little bit better understanding of nutrition. And so then more people started getting results, but then, there was still a small group of people who weren't motivated or who weren't as motivated. And so that's when I realized, probably about 4 or 5 years into it, you know what? It was more mindset. And so ever since then, I
Mm.
kind of like made that mental switch, and from there I haven't looked back. I've just been really honing in on the mindset now. So, and I'm here now, and in an industry that's highly competitive, in an area that had hundreds of trainers, and working with, probably I've probably worked with, without exaggeration, anywhere between 40 and 50 trainers. And right now I only know
Dang.
one of out of the 40 to 50 trainers that are still training till this day, who when I first started. And so, that's the industry, but I made it here this far, so I'm kind of grateful. I, put my head down, worked, and I ended up, gratefully getting my own business, and I'm here now.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Because it's like a cutthroat business, you know.
it is.
And
It is.
this is kind of funny. Your story has a lot of parallels to my
Really?
life. As you probably can't see it, but my YouTube channel at one time it was about fitness,
Okay.
and that's kind of how it started out.
Okay.
And way before that, I worked in a warehouse
Yeah.
job because I dropped out of
Ding,
university,
ding, ding.
right? Right, and then I went back to
Yeah.
college for accounting.
Accounting too? Oh my
Yeah, I
God.
went for accounting. Yeah,
I didn't know it was accounting.
dropped out of
Yeah,
that.
I didn't know it was accounting, but I did look at a few of your videos. I pretty much binge watched a lot of the videos, just going through them back to back. And I think it was the real estate girl that you were talking to, the one that was running the
Oh yeah.
campaign, and you mentioned something. Yeah, I saw that I remember you did say something about going to school, but I didn't know it was accounting. So
Mm,
you know about financial and managerial accounting and all that.
yeah. Yeah, I know all about that stuff and it's horrible. Like if I finished
Yeah.
that, like sometimes I think to myself, if I finished and got my CGA and got a job at a firm or
Hmm.
whatever, would I be happy? And when I think about it deep down, more often than not, that answer is no. It's a strong, resounding
Yeah.
no. And it's just like, but for whatever reason at the time I didn't know what else to do, right? Like, oh, you have to study some type of business. Well, what kind of business? Oh, I don't know, economics, accounting, finance, marketing. You don't know, you just kind of like take a shot in the dark and pick
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
right? And it just happened to land on accounting, which and it doesn't it just I feel like you got to be really into it.
Me
like
too.
like you got to be into the taxation and the trial balance sheets and the whole, you know, whatever, like job of accounting. Like you got to be really into that
Yeah.
to kind of go into that field of work,
And
right?
that's yeah, you're right. And I agree with you. Like, that's what I realized. And it was the same for me. It was, you got to do something. And then when you think about business and you talk to a few people, you realize that numbers, slash accounting and marketing was pretty much the lifeblood of running a business. And I always thought of marketing as something that was creative. And like, I wasn't creative. So it made sense for me to go into accounting. But then once I went into accounting, I realized like I love numbers, and I never had an intention on working for people. My thing was to actually go and get my CPA. I don't know if it's known as the CPA in Canada, Certified Public Accountant, and start,
Pretty
yeah, and
similar.
start my own firm, and do other
Mm.
big companies' taxes and financial work that I was going to handle. That was my intention. That was my goal and my vision going in. But then I quickly realized, like, you know what? I love numbers, and I wanted to really learn about finance because I didn't have I wasn't passionate about accounting. Accounting, as you know, is more like working for
It's so
companies.
cut and dry,
Yeah,
man.
just yeah, numbers. It is.
Like,
It's so dry. And I don't know if you're the
uh,
same way. I'm the type of person who needs constant stimulation, and so for me, once I get something down, usually after 2 or 3 years, like I want to go to the next thing. And I've noticed that throughout my career, as I was explaining to you earlier, with the jumping from just getting certified as a trainer and then going into nutrition and then finally into, so it's like that was also part of the process too. It's like, not, I was always curious, like, what's the next thing, and I noticed that, and I'm assuming you're probably like that too. You want that, you need that stimulation, you need to keep up in your game, because even from the
mhm.
YouTube stuff that I've watched that you've already done, I don't know if I'm wrong. Am I right in that respect?
No, you're pretty spot on, and this is a common trait that I find whenever I talk to a lot of other
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs. It's this constant need to find the next goal, to find the next mountain to climb, and skill to achieve and work towards. And it's like when you have that internal drive where you're always thirsting for more, and you kind of love that journey of progression and improvement.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I feel like entrepreneurship is for those type of people. And that's not like throwing shade at anyone else who works a normal 9 to 5
Yeah,
day job. But what some people love, that
yeah.
consistency, that
That
mundane
security.
day in, day out. Yeah, the
Yeah,
security where there's no
yeah.
challenges. But for me, whenever I learn something, there's always more. I want to do more. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like I want to make a YouTube video. Oh, I want to do videography. Now I want to do
Yep.
lighting and sound and editing and effects. And it's always like I'm never satisfied. There's always something more that I want. And that's where I feel like becoming a business owner or starting a business or going down the path of the entrepreneur is so rewarding because it is so unbelievably challenging and difficult because there is no guidebook,
Yeah.
right? Just like how you've seen, like with your business, like there's so many different paths and decisions you can make, and there's so many mistakes you can make along the way
Hmm.
that if you're not a person that kind of strives for that growth, then I feel like it's very easy to come up short and fail in those type of endeavors.
That
But
growth.
definitely that's been my mindset for I don't know how long. I just always thought I was
That
crazy,
growth
you
mindset.
know?
That growth mindset.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like,
yeah.
what's your nationality? What's your background, if you don't mind my asking? Because I think we might have the same understanding. Because my parents both immigrated from Haiti. I don't know if you know where Haiti
Hmm.
is. So both of my parents
Yeah, I
immigrated.
know Haiti. Yeah, the
Yeah,
island
so
in
both of my
Caribbean. Yeah.
parents immigrated from Haiti, with all the same values in Haiti, and brought them over here and raised us in the households. And it was like, go to school. You either become a doctor, an engineer, or an attorney. Those are the three. Like, those are the three
Uh,
only respectable careers that, no matter what you did, no matter how successful you were in any other industry, even if it was entrepreneurship business, it was like, if you're not a doctor, if you're not an engineer, if you're not an attorney, then it's like it doesn't matter. And I get it, because in their
mhm.
country, those are the three most respectable careers that it wasn't guaranteed, but it increased your chances of success in that country.
Mm,
However,
mhm.
grand a success was, like, that was the understanding. Like, if you want to do these three, you'll increase your chance of getting out of poverty, because 90% of the country, is living in poverty. And so whoever was fortunate enough to
Mhm.
get into one of those three careers, you had a better shot. And so they immigrated with those same values, those same belief systems to the US, not realizing that. And I don't think they're naive. Like, I don't think they're naive. Like, my mom spoke multiple languages. She went to university, and that was just the understanding, and that they immigrated here with, from Haiti. And so that's why I asked you, like, what was your background? Did you have
Mhm.
similar? Uh,
Yeah, I'm super
yeah.
mixed.
Okay.
So I'm Japanese, Italian, Austrian,
Okay.
Canadian. My parents come from are immigrants basically.
Yeah.
Well, my mom's parents were. They came from Japan, and my dad came. from Europe when he was 15 and he didn't know how to speak English. So I have that huge like influence from immigrant parents where they kind of teach you to work hard, right? And I know like how you said you have to be a doctor, a lawyer, that type of thing to be successful. In my family, it was computer engineering. So, and this is very common in Asian households, is this focus on the maths and sciences. And my mom had 5 brothers who all graduated with computer engineering degrees from University of Toronto, pretty much with like full scholarship. So basically, in my family, I'm the eldest of all the cousins and siblings. So I was the next in line. And my first stint with post-secondary education was going to university in downtown Toronto for, computer science. So I was supposed to follow their route of computer engineering, right? But on the flip side of that, my father, he is a super creative person. He's like a photographer, a painter, but then he's colorblind, so he couldn't really do those professionally. So he got into cooking, like culinary, because that's also like an expression of art. But he had that old school Italian, Austrian mindset where he worked 110 hours a week. So when I grew up, he was just 3 jobs, constantly working, and he showed me the importance of work ethic, right? But I never knew he had all this creative potential in him because I never saw it. And it wasn't until later on, when I turned like in my 30s, that I discovered, man, I have a passion for photography and videography and painting and all these very creative things. And I was like, Dad, why don't you tell me? Like, why don't you tell me about this shit? You just work it all the time, right? But like in their generation, you don't make money as a photographer. You don't make money as a painter. Those are nonsense jobs, right? Go get a real job. Like that was the mentality in those days, right? But unfortunately, it never really applied to me, or at least I tried to embody that type of education or type of path, but it always failed, and it never worked out for me, and it was always so frustrating. But I know exactly what you mean when you come from a certain like nationality, and they have this kind of mentality of what they know is successful or what they think that you should do, and then you'll achieve that sort of level of success. So like with my mom's side of the family, it's engineering. Engineering is a safe thing to get into. It pays well. There's lots of jobs. It's very respectful, right? If you say you're a computer engineer or whatever. But it just didn't work out for me,
No, I get it. And so you turned out to be, quote unquote, the black sheep of the family then. Like the one who wants to go do the creative. And I get it. And I've always, even as I'm listening to you now, like I've even always been a creative too, but mine is more into the business. Because I noticed that even in business, like I'm extremely super creative when it comes to business, and I always thought like it just applied to the arts, music, paintings, photography, and all that stuff. But really, there's an aspect of it that can be applied to business. I can't tell you how many ideas that probably pop up into my head a day, even in the past when I was working for other gyms. Because really, even as I was working for other gyms, I was pretty much my own business. Because I don't know how Canada is, but I know here in the States, when you work for big commercial gyms, which I did, after the initial 90 days of helping you to get on your feet, you're pretty much on your own. You're pretty much an entrepreneur. You're just an entrepreneur who happens to be giving majority of your money to use a facility. And then once you smarten up, after about 2 or 3 years and you see what the industry is, and it's like, okay, well, you then realize, well, if you don't do anything on your own, you'll never, be able to have any sort of financial freedom. You'll never have that, that cushion or that stability as far as your personal finance. And so that's what happened to me. So I get it. I really do.
Yeah, it's like the gym route over here is kind of rough. Like you can get that whole personal trainer certification and become a coach and work at one of these big box gyms
Hmm.
here where they kind of guarantee your employment, but you're basically making a couple dollars over minimum wage,
Yep.
and you don't get paid very well. It's very tough because the industry is so like I don't know if it's oversaturated, but it's like I feel like there's a high demand for personal fitness because you always hear people wanting to lose weight. You always hear people about wanting to get in
Yeah.
shape. But how come like these personal trainers and people you go to at these big gyms are never compensated properly? You know, like there's no money in it or whatever reason. And because of that, I was sort of on that path. Like I was super into
Yeah.
fitness, but once I got into the business side of it, that's where I'm kind of like limited, where I don't have that passion and creativity in the business side that you
Hmm.
do. I'm more passionate in like the arts of creating things, and the business just kind of comes
Yeah.
secondhand. You know, I work on it when I can. It's not really what interests me the most, and I know it's something I definitely need to improve and get better at. But for whatever reason, like the fitness stuff, it's so tough. Like it's definitely a huge struggle and very tough to get into over here as well.
Yeah, it is. It's highly, yeah, it's highly competitive. I mean, I've seen people literally break down, like crying in tears, who would come and start, and then after just a few weeks or a couple months, and I've seen this numerous times, and they just break down because what happens is, it's an industry that if you do want to get into, it's easy to get into because all you really need is a certification. But to really succeed, you have to be passionate. A lot of times, when a lot of people who go into trying to get certifications, become certified, and go work for a gym, 9 times out of 10, the first thought is just to make lots of money, get great body, and that's what, most people go in thinking. And
Hmm.
luckily for me, like I always had that passion for helping people with weight loss. This is why, like from the very beginning, and I had a passion for business too. Those were just two of my passions. It just happened to be two in one, and it worked out perfectly for me. So I understood like the approach that I took was help this person, but what others didn't realize that I realized early on was in helping someone, even though you may be having interest in business, even though I had a passion for business, I knew the approach if I took with helping someone, that would come back to me tenfold. It didn't matter. I can't tell you how many people
Mm.
while I was in the gym that I trained for free, that I would give advice to. When people were coming in and asking questions, if you didn't have money or if you weren't signing up, trainers didn't even want to look at you. Like they didn't want to, they would
Mhm.
try
I
to
know what
like
you mean.
brush you
Yeah.
off. But I understood, and I'm like, you know what? I could help this person. Like, and maybe they might not come for training, but they might know of someone who wants to be a trainer, who wants to come in for training, or someone who needs help losing weight. And you know what? Like I said, that it always comes back to you tenfold. People will always remember you. Always. I've had
Hmm.
people that I've trained for free. Actually, just I have a client, a former client, Shelby, who had just stopped training. I trained her for free 7 months ago. I mean, 7 years ago, and I just gave
Oh
her,
wow.
yeah, I just gave her a program. But 7 years later, she still remembered me. When she finally, had her finances in order and she wanted to come train, she remembered. I gave her a program and everything. Like for me, it was, like I said, 7 years ago, and she
Hmm.
came back, and it was just, you know, people don't forget. It always comes back to you tenfold. It's just something I don't understand why others don't get. I'm not judgmental towards it, but I just think sometimes maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just not thinking long term. I don't know. I just always
Hmm.
knew that when you do stuff like that, like I said, it always comes back to you tenfold. You know.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about, and I find this too, that a lot of people don't understand this mentality of giving
Yeah.
back to other people and how good it makes you feel and
Mm-hmm.
how valuable it really is. And to be perfectly
Yeah.
honest, I've never been a perfect person. I've had so many faults when I started off my own businesses and stuff, and I was selfish, of course. In the
Yeah. Yeah.
beginning, I was money hungry. I didn't want to help anybody. But as soon as you reach a point where you make enough money to buy anything you want at the grocery
Mm-hmm.
store, and you can afford your
Yeah.
rent, and once you put that into perspective, right, and you get a certain amount of financial wealth where, okay, I'm okay. I know I can't afford like a Lamborghini or a fancy car or some super expensive watch or whatever, but all my basic needs as a human being are
Yeah.
met. Once you get to that point and you start giving back to other people and helping people, it feels
It
amazing.
does.
And I kind of discovered that a little bit, like I said, with the fitness stuff. I was super obsessed, with intermittent fasting and counting my macronutrients and
Yeah.
supplements and 4-day splits, full body
Mm-hmm.
splits, upper lower, all this
You know
crazy
the
stuff. Like
stuff.
I was fully invested in that
Yeah.
world. Like I was obsessed because I'm like a super obsessive, compulsive type of
Yeah.
person. And whenever I would give some tips to a friend that wants to lose weight, I'll be like, hey man, come to the gym with
Yeah.
me. Like I can bring a friend, just work out with me. I'll show you what I do. I don't know, I don't know all the best forms and how to do an incline bench press, but let's just work out. We'll make it fun and hopefully you'll enjoy it and get a membership yourself. And then before you know it, they've kind of signed up on their own and they started going to the gym regularly and they start losing weight and they feel good about
Oh yeah.
themselves. And that makes you feel so good as
It
a
does.
person. And that's when I learned about to try to be more selfless. But of course, you need to take care of yourself first, but also when you can find the time to give back to other people, and help the community, help your friends, or help whoever. Like that feeling inside, it's so rewarding,
Yeah.
and I kind of love it, right? And this is also kind of why I like to, do this whole podcasting. Just kind of talk to people, spread
Right.
positivity, and share experiences. Maybe I can learn something from you, you can learn something from me, or some person halfway across the world might be listening to this and maybe they can learn from
Get
both of us,
inspired.
right?
Get
And we might
motivated.
be able to, yeah, inspire
Yeah.
someone that we'll never even meet one day, right? Like who knows? And that type of stuff is
It
amazing,
is.
right?
It is. And I'll tell you, I wanted to touch on something that you said too earlier. How in the beginning it was money, but then you discovered how well you make people feel, and like how that feeling becomes now what you're after. I discovered that probably, when did Daniela? I probably 3.5 years into it. I think 3.5 years into it. I remember Daniela. She was like my biggest success story, and she went from 330 pounds to 160 pounds in the course of 18 months.
Whoa,
And so,
it's like 50%
yeah,
body weight
yeah,
loss.
yeah, she lost. She was my biggest success story. And I remember when I was with her and we did that last weigh-in, because I trained her for about 6 to 8 months or something like that in person. And so once she had a base and she had an understanding, she had that foundation of fitness, she knew all the moves, and so she was performing exercises correctly. And then she just so happened to get a job which was 30, 40 minutes away, and so she was gone. So for the remaining of the 18 months, we kind of just did like through email. uh, we used collaborative tools like Zoom and stuff like that. At the time, it wasn't Zoom. It was like Facebook, something we were doing. I think it was a Facebook video. I think that's what we were doing at the time. And for the remaining
Okay, yeah.
18 months, yeah. And then the last time we did the weigh in front of hundreds of people at the gym, literally just tears pouring down her eyes and just crying. And I grabbed her and put her on my shoulder, and I was like, man, like, this, that's when it hit me. I said, you know what? When you find a good trainer who actually cares and who's passionate about what they do, that's the feeling that you get. No amount of money
Hmm.
could amount to that feeling. None, not a dollar. And so, ever since then, again, I was still passionate about training. I was still, from watching Biggest Loser. I don't know if you've ever heard of Biggest Loser.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I said, like, a lot of trainers come in sometimes not knowing what they want to specialize in. I usually recommend to them, just take on everyone. After you take on a few different types of people, whether you take someone who's more into bodybuilding and physique training, someone who's into like powerlifting and strength, or someone who's into weight loss and fat loss, whatever it is, train a bunch of different people. And slowly but surely, soon enough, you're going to know what kinds of people you like to train. Some people don't like to train the older population. It's too slow for them. It takes a lot of, no, it's true. It takes a lot of
I know what you mean.
patience. It takes a lot of patience. I've worked with a lot of people from the older population. I've worked with people who are paralyzed. And so not everyone has the patience. It's tough. And so for me, I think that was my greatest asset, was the patience that I had. And I always wanted a challenge. I've always had that growth mindset. And so for me, from watching Biggest Loser, at the time, now I understand better, I know better, but at the time, my belief was that someone who can take someone that big and make them this small or get them fit, to me, those are the best trainers. But there's best trainers in every subcategory of fitness, in my opinion. Whether it's bodybuilding, those guys work hard too. They sacrifice a lot. There's a lot of discipline that goes into that. And so it's not just weight loss. Now I understand a trainer, there could be a good trainer in whatever subcategory of fitness and wellness. But yeah, for me, that was it. And ever since then, man, I said, man, it's more than training. Like, I'm teaching people how to become the best version of themselves. Like, I have a guy now that I'm training who, he was in the gym. I've had him for going on 4 months now. He was in the gym by himself for about 2 months, not really getting any results. And now I see him now. He's down almost 30 pounds. He's had to purchase multiple belts. He can't even wear the pants that he was wearing. And like now when you see him, he's coming in and his head is held high. You can tell, like, he's super
That's
confident.
awesome.
So for me, it's so much more than just telling someone, do 15 squats, do 4 sets of 15 squats. Like, you're changing people's lives. And to me, as long as you're providing that kind of value to people, you're set for life. You don't have to worry about income, and people will always come to you. It's my opinion. I mean, that's
Well,
my
that's awesome.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, like I kind of know what you're talking about because I've had like a few little stints with people, but not really. I've never got to that level that
Yeah.
you're at.
Well, I've been doing it
But
8+
so
years now.
do you,
So
eight
yeah,
plus
8+
years?
years.
Dang.
Yeah. So it's like,
Huh.
you go through a lot of
That's
ups and downs with people. Like, it's tough. But so now, like, are you into business now? I know you said you used to do the fitness. Are you into business now?
Oh, so funny story is that like my YouTube channel was created in
Mm-hmm.
2007, and I've done like I used to be huge into basketball, so I used to make basketball videos. I used to play, coach, ref, teach, all
Yeah.
that. Didn't work out. Then I went into like video
Yeah.
games. That didn't work out. And then when I dropped out of university, I became a poker player for almost 10 years.
Wow.
So that was like a business I had for like a decade. So I was making videos about poker and the World Series of poker, like all kinds of crazy stuff. And then eventually I got onto fitness. And then I found this insane inner passion I had with fitness, and not just going to the gym and lifting weights. I was obsessed with hypertrophy. I was obsessed with building muscle. I was obsessed with bodybuilding, strongman competitions, ketogenic diets, intermittent fasting, paleo, counting your like macros and nutrients. And I was obsessed with everything. I had all these food scales, and I still do downstairs. And I thought I found it. Like I found that
Yeah.
thing. But over time, what I realized is that thing was the self-development niche, where it also includes mindset and specifically more towards young men, like, finding your passion in life, finding your purpose, finding drive and
Yeah.
motivation. But fitness was a small subsection of that it thing.
Okay.
Whereas in the beginning, I thought fitness was everything. But then slowly but surely throughout 2019, I finally started to discover that, I am not that passionate about fitness. It's a small percentage of a bigger puzzle that I'm trying to solve. And then that was when I discovered cameras. Then I discovered videography. And I started working as a videographer, as a freelancer, did some weddings, did like some MMA gyms, commercials, that type of stuff. And I fell in love with cameras. And then I fell in love with the whole self-development niche as a whole and combined that with storytelling. And then that is when I finally found some success. And now this is something that I love. And I'm into like my mindset and psychology and reading books and learning new things and gaining new perspectives and doing podcasts. And I do live streams on my channel as well. Like I like everything about it. That was the it thing. But fitness is still there, it's like in the little corner, it's still glistening, I still pride myself. I'm not as obsessive as I was before. Like when I mean obsessive, like I would weigh myself every day. I counted all the calories. I weighed all my food every single day for years. And I followed like strict intermittent fasting protocols. Like I was
that takes a lot of discipline.
But I'm like a super nerd. Like I'm like a super math nerd. Like, playing poker, computer science, video games, like typical nerd stuff, right? Like, so like I'm obsessed with numbers, right? And that's where this whole thing triggered. But it was weird because that's around the time when I found out that my father was super creative. And I was like, and that's when I had this epiphany where I'm like, this is where this stuff is coming from. It's not like I'm not making this up. Like it was kind of like inherited to me from you. I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. Yeah. And then he gave me his camera, which I have somewhere back here, but it's like a camera from 1968 or something, or 1970. Like he had all of his stuff from his passions in life. And I was like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm all in. Like I'm 37. I'm still only making a very minor amount of money for my YouTube channel. But it's there, it's growing, it's something. But I
just remember where you started.
Been searching. Yeah, I'm all in pretty much at this point. So
no,
that's where I'm at.
That's good. That's good. I'm hoping that I can get. I told myself, I said, like I'm in it long haul too, but I'm not really expecting to see anything from this, like money wise, with everything that I'm doing, at least 2 to 5 years. So in my mind, I already know, like I'm putting my head down for 2 years. I'm not even lifting my head up for 2 years. And then between that 2 to 5, after the 2 years, I'll lift my head up and see which direction I want to take. Not leaving YouTube, but seeing as far as like other things that I may want to do on the platform. I do want to build out. I just built out a podcast room. I had a podcast before, but I only did like did like one episode.
Okay, I'll do episode 2 for
okay,
you, bro.
Good. Good. I got a second person. Yeah, I had a podcast before, and I did one episode. And at the time, like it was just over. I did it, but it was just like overwhelming because I was doing so much other stuff. I was managing like 63 clients a week at the other gym that I had. I had an online membership platform because I got to the point where I was so booked and I had people still wanting to train. And so that's when I created the online membership platform. And I put that on. That didn't work though because I wasn't putting my all into it. I was managing all the in-person people and I didn't put, enough into it. So it was just like something else that I was creating like as a revenue stream. So that was one other business that started that didn't work. I started a clothing line too. That didn't work. That was only for like a little bit. What else? I started like 3 or 4 businesses that didn't work, but over time, you learn lessons from each business that you then carry on to the next thing. And so those businesses each only lasted like a few months at the most, like 3-4 months. But you know, knock on wood, I'm grateful. This one I've been here now going on 3 years.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, 2 years now. So we're in the 2 to 3 year range now. So I finally found something that worked. Just been doing what I've been doing just now for myself. You know, especially, and you know the fitness. I don't know how well you know the industry. The industry is an industry where a lot of managers and owners, whether it's small gyms or big gyms, a lot of the leverage is in the person who's training, so that person's brand. And so a lot of times owners and managers try to suppress people, you know, using different tactics to suppress you to keep you working for that company, but they know without you they don't make any money, and so they use all these little tactics to suppress people, not letting you build your brand, not letting you advertise for yourself and nothing, you know, just to kind of keep you trapped in. Yeah, I found a way to work around it, and eventually I got out. But you know, I feel bad for the people after me because, you know, they set up different policies in place now so that others behind me couldn't do what I did. But I think it's you know, the fitness is a great industry. It's something that I'd recommend. I mean, obviously you got to be passionate about it. I feel like in order to have some success in it, because it's so competitive, I do think, you know, you do have to have some passion. So luckily for you, maybe you realize like it wasn't your passion at the time, and you know. But,
Yeah, it's tough because like I went from being so obsessed. Like every morning I'd be like on YouTube watching like Jeff Nippard's scientific videos or that Athlete X guy or whoever, like all the big fitness YouTubers, and I'd be on PubMed reading like articles and abstracts and like information on how to maximize hypertrophy in like the 8 to 12 rep range. Like I'm like all this shit I was just like absorbing, and I thought like that that was it, right? But I feel like this is very common, especially for entrepreneurs, is this journey of failure where you start all these little businesses and you don't know that it's going to fail, or maybe at the time you might think it's a good idea but ends up being terrible. And you have just so many failure after another and another that eventually you learn from all those past mistakes. And once you find that thing, like that thing that sparkles in your eye that you know deep down in your heart that you love and that you want to do for the rest of your life, now you've had all these past experiences of failure that you can learn from and apply to your current business that you're on. And the good thing too is that like you've made it through that initial struggle. Like for anyone that's out there listening and that wants to start a business, those first 1 to 2 years is horrendous to get the ball rolling. It's almost as if you're trying to build a snowball from scratch, and you know it's so slow. Yeah, but then when you get to the 2-year part, now all of a sudden you're at the top of the hill and you're just pushing it down, and then it gets that exponential growth where it compounds on top of each other. And you learned all these skills here, maybe some in college, maybe some from a past business that failed, maybe some from your friends. And all of a sudden it becomes incredibly easier to push that snowball, and progress becomes so much faster. And that's also what I'm kind of seeing now, because like the whole YouTube thing, I made no money at all. Like I was just putting in 40 hours a week making videos for no one was watching. I was getting 3 views. But now you get monetized and you start seeing a little bit. Oh, you make 2 cents, and all of a sudden it's 20 cents, and now it's like $1 and like $1.50. I'm like, oh, okay, you know,
how long did it
go buy a pizza?
How long did it take you to make your first dollar?
Or
like your first anything? Like how long did it take before you saw your first, after, not from when you set up YouTube, but from the time you started posting consistently? How long before you
the time I
made anything, like 20 cents, whatever, like the first cent?
Okay, so I started in, well, didn't start, but I started the whole serious videos in June of 2019.
Okay.
And actually, I can pull it up right
Wow.
now. I have my YouTube right here.
So a little bit over
Um,
2 years, 2.5 years.
yeah, and I got paid. Let me just go quickly
Yeah.
here into my analytics. Let me see. Revenue. I think it was in April.
Almost 2 years.
April 28th, 2021.
It's almost 2 years, not even.
So from June 2019, June 22nd, 2019 to April 28th, 2021.
Okay.
And I made $1.20.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. I hate. My mind was like, I'm not even. My mind. My honestly, even going in. I don't know if you did. You get that study that I sent you before? I sent the study and the link when we first. When I found your first video that I commented on. I sent the study from, I think it's thetilt.com. You can look it up.
Oh,
It's a
YouTube
study
blocked
on
it.
content entrepreneurs. I'll send it to you again.
Yeah, I
Check
think
it.
YouTube blocked it. They always block that type of
Oh,
stuff.
really? Okay, so
Yeah,
I'll
and
send it to you via email when we're done. Maybe that's
okay,
something
that's
you could
cool.
share with other content creators because it's a study. It's the first ever study that was done for content entrepreneurs. So YouTubers specifically. So like other people, producers and content creators from other platforms can't use it, but the study was primarily focused on YouTube, and
Oh,
it
okay, I
covers
see.
everything from revenue, subscriber count, types of content, everything. It covers everything. It's the first major study that's ever been done. Thetilt.com, and it's about
The
yeah. If you just
tilt.
put I don't know if you could Google it now. Just put in the tilt
Yeah, I am
and
right
then
now.
put content entrepreneur study, and you should be able to find. It's a great study. I'm telling you, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. But as far as like, I want to touch on, because I know like we make a lot of mistakes. You were talking about like starting those little businesses and stuff like that. That's actually a video that I'm gonna create in January. It's the video that I'm releasing January 6th on my channel about. It's a concept that I recently came across. It's called the first principles thinking, and it's a mental model that teaches you how to break down problems into components, into its elements, and then reconstruct these problems uh, by using reasoning from the ground up. And so it's a thinking tool that Elon Musk's use. Charlie Charlie
Oh,
Munger, who is the partner of Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. Yeah.
It's a physicist kind of process. There's another physicist who uses it too, who's well known. Richard Feynman. Feynman,
Feynman.
yeah, Richard
Yeah.
Feynman. The
Yeah.
yeah, it's called the thinking principles, first principles thinking. So what I did was when I came across this concept, ever since then I now use it for anything new that I'm doing or I'm looking to get into. Because I have, believe it or not, like I have clients now that I train. Like it seems to be the millennials though. I have three millennial clients now that I train. I'm a millennial too, so I'm
And
36.
me
You're a
too.
millennial, so you know.
I'm
Between
37. Yeah.
25 and like 40, right? I think it's millennial, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have three millennial clients that I work with now, and so part of what we do is training, and the other part of it is coaching. And so a lot of these mistakes that I made, like with starting the businesses, I realized when I came across this first principles thinking tool, and I applied it to now the industry, and that's the video that I'm creating January 6th or 7th, whatever that Thursday is. But pretty much taking each industry, breaking it down into its components, usually around 5 to 6 elements, and then doing the homework, like really breaking each component down and looking at each component individually And then after we're done using reasoning and stuff like that, and then, you come to a global conclusion to see if it's industry that you really want to look into. And so it's a video about that I'm releasing. Plus, I just came across another study that shows like 40% of jobs here in the U.S. It was a worldwide study, but the part that I read was the focus more on the U.S. because that's where I'm at, and all of my followers is all from the U.S. And so it's like 40% of jobs are no longer going to be around due to technology and automation and stuff like that. And so, the wellness is one of the industries that's on. It's at the top. So like wellness,
really?
like whoa, like, and that was a big reason too that I decided to broaden more from just weight loss into self-improvement in general. So that's why I kind of like and weight loss fitness is self-improvement, but I just wanted to broaden it more into like teaching people how to think, mindset stuff. That was like really it for me. I feel like if more people know how to think, if more people have the right mindset, then weight loss won't be an issue. They're just gonna, because here's my thing, right? One thing I realized when I was training was, there's a plethora of information online. Like, people can really do your homework. You really don't need a trainer. I tell everyone who like comes to me, I'm honest, like, you don't really need a trainer. Everything that I'm going to teach you is online. The only thing is, I've been doing it for 8+ years over and over again, and so everything for me is a little bit more, I've organized everything and it's more structured. So I have steps that I put people through. And each program I might adjust it a little bit to each person's individual needs. So someone might come in with back issues or knee issues, certain things. So I adjust it individually, but like I've structured it to where now it's like I do it in my sleep. And so I tell people all the time, like, you don't need a trainer. You can come in and, everything's online. Like, it's not complicated. You can learn how to eat healthy. Spend like 5 hours on YouTube. Find some credible YouTube people who are putting this information out for free. And I put up stuff for free, but, I understand people mainly come for the accountability. It's the accountability. And sometimes I have people, my business people who don't have the time or don't want to put the time in to do their own research. And so since I've been doing it for 8+ years, everything's already organized and structured. And so, but going back to the thing that I was talking about with the video about breaking down each industry and how you were saying you made mistakes of businesses and I made mistakes of businesses. So this is the video I want to create. And I feel like if I can teach people how to think better and focus more on mindset, then everything else is going to fall in place. Whether it's fitness, personal finance, it doesn't matter. Everyone's teaching these niches, but I'm thinking, like, if I teach people how to think, if I teach them how to get more into growth mindset, all that stuff is just going to fall in place anyway. If you know how to think, you'll know how to control your finances. If I focus on mindset, you're going to stay fit. You're going to work out 5-6 days a week and understand that there's that mind and body connection. If your body isn't right, then of course your mind's not going to be right. And if your mind's not right, vice versa. And so I want to kind of dig a little bit deeper with that. That's why I'm like more focused now.
Well, that's huge, man. Because, like, even with the whole, people a lot of times they want a personal trainer because they're lacking motivation, accountability, and discipline. And a lot of the times they just want to pay that money for someone to do all the research for them, to tell them what to do, tell them what to eat, how many reps, how far to run, because they don't want to invest that time in finding out for themselves. And like you said, all the information is out there, even just on YouTube. You can find everything. You don't need nothing. But so many people nowadays, they just lack that mental fortitude and that ability to do something difficult and have like the self-discipline to go out and hit the gym, whatever, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever the most basic regiment that you would recommend for someone. But like, so many people lack that like tiny little bit of discipline. And at the end of the day, it all comes back down to your mindset, right? Like mindset is just, it's just so huge. And for me, like the way that I got into fitness was very simple. It's like when I turned 35, I realized I'm halfway to 70, right? So I'm getting very close to the halfway point of my lifespan. And I'm only going to have one body, and there's only going to be so many years left. So why don't I take care of my body now so I can prolong those next 35 years and make them happy, make them active, make them enjoyable, and eventually one day, be able to do the things that I take for granted now. Like say if I fall, I can easily do a push-up and get up, or do a squat or whatever. But can you do that when you're 70? Can you do it when you're 75? Like what if your grandchild runs to you? Can you squat down and pick her up and hug her and then stand up? Can you do that when you're 75 years old? Right? And a lot of people, they can't. And for me, it came down to this very simple idea that I only have one body and I'm going to die. Like this may sound very trite and cliche, but it's so powerful because it puts everything into perspective for you. So now I'm like, I got to take care of my health, right? Maybe not to the obsessive level as I was before when I was like deep into personal fitness, but I still practice intermittent fasting regularly. I try to eat generally healthy, the best I can. I don't weigh my food anymore, but, I try to get rid of all the Oreos and ice cream and bullshit, all that type of nonsense food that comes in boxes when you should obviously just make the left turn and go to the produce section where the real food is at. Like that is 99% of the solution. Just don't buy the food that's in the box, right? Buy the real food that's sitting out there on the side that no one wants to go to. But for whatever reason, we all gravitate towards the Oreos and Fudgios or whatever cookie.
Something you said that I caught you were saying in the talk. Something about you that I noticed is different, and I have it too. Which in my opinion, I think is part of mindset, is your perspective, right? And this is what I try to work with my clients with. This is why, like, for me, it's so much bigger than weight loss. And this is why, like, for me, I know I'm in the perfect industry. Earlier, you said when you were talking how you thought about you were 35 and you looked at that as now that's half of 70. Because of your ability to put things into perspective, which I believe is part of mindset, putting things into perspective, is the reason why, like, you make these changes. And if I can teach others to put things into perspective instead of, like saying, hey, lose weight. If I'm talking to that person after 2 weeks, I know they love their kids. They love their maybe it's a 50-year-old who loves her grandkid, her grandson. And then I'll put into perspective, what do you think little Tommy's going to do if you were to drop dead because you decided that you didn't want to eat healthy and you caught diabetes or something, putting that into like, so for me, a lot of times I'm not able to do this just in the beginning, but just after like a few sessions, a couple sessions, couple weeks of just like working with clients, and part of personal training is getting personal. Like I have that ability to make people comfortable, which is an advantage that I use to help them get results. So like, again, for you just naturally put it into perspective, but if you can get other people to put it in perspective in a way that is going to motivate and impact them, 9 times out of 10, you'll get them to change too, just like you did. You look at it like 35 is half of 70.
Huge, man.
Because for you, getting old and not being able to do is important to you. Now it's just finding what's important to each individual. And so this is why I like the training. Because for me, like, that's the creative part. Like, I get to listen to this and put this together and, and I want to do that on a bigger level. I want to do that. Like what you just said, I want to do that on a bigger level.
Yeah, it's huge, man. Like I've learned perspective like throughout the years how important it is. And I remember when I first kind of got into this stuff is I had a really good friend at work at my day job. And he's a really nice guy, super cool. right? He's kind of, like big guy, smokes a lot, drinks a lot of Coke,
Mm-hmm.
and one time I told him, like, you live like 8 minutes from me or 10 minutes from me. Come to the gym. All you got to do is get a water
Yeah.
bottle and your running shoes. I'll drive to your house. I'll pick you up and you can come with me. All you got to do is shoes and water bottle and let's go. And but it never
Yeah.
manifested. It just never worked for whatever
Yeah.
reason, right? And eventually I got kind of upset because I care about this guy, right? He's a friend, and I'm someone that a lot of times I'm very sensitive, but that's just kind of like the type of person
Yeah.
I am. And so I talked to him, and I'm like, "Tell me, what are the most important things in your life?" And he's like, "Oh, like family, friends." I'm like, "No, no, like specifically, like what is the most important things in your life?" And he's like, "Oh, my nephew, his name is this. My niece, her name is that. My wife, my name is this." I'm like, "Okay, so these three people are the most important people in your life, the most important things in your life, without a doubt, right? Does anything come close to like in second place?" And he's like, "No, nothing comes close." Then I'm like, "But then look what you're doing. You're setting yourself up for an early grave. Like, do you want to be that guy that's like 60 and then your niece and nephew, they don't have an uncle anymore? Like, you're this super fun uncle guy. Then you're lying to
Yeah.
yourself, because they're not really the most important things to you, because if they were, then you would do something about that, but you
Yeah.
don't, right? And sometimes it's like you have to face that truth, and it's very difficult to do, because especially in the type of world we live in now, where you can't say this type of stuff to people, or else, oh, you're fat shaming them, or
Yeah.
oh, you're insensitive, or you're a misogynist, or
Yeah.
but that's not what this is. It's that I care for friends and people that I genuinely love, and unfortunately they'll never achieve that type of perspective unless someone tells them like the stone cold truth, right? And unfortunately, those conversations are really hard to have.
Yeah.
But some people, like maybe me or you, we really value our vitality. Like, we value our health. We want to
Absolutely.
be healthy men when we're in our 50s, in our 60s. Like, we value
Yeah.
that. But these other people, they lack that perspective, and I'm not saying that that's wrong, but if you really value your family and those people that are important in your life, then you need to take your health seriously, because you're not going to be here much longer if you don't, right? And that's just like a sad truth that unfortunately, it goes hand in hand with the whole mindset and perspective stuff that a lot of people need, right?
Yeah. No, I get it. My thing. Let me ask you this, right? Do you think? Because I've looked at the industry. Like, part of me, like, I'm kind of like stuck on. I've just been so stuck, because here's the thing. The truth of the matter is, majority of people who even go into fitness are, most people don't follow through. I'd say out of 100%, like, who really makes, like, real commitment, real life changes, out of 100%, I would say maybe 10, 12%.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that might be even too much. Maybe just 10%. 1 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
You see it in the gym, where majority of people come in and 80% of people quit by February. And so I just wonder. That's why I don't think, I think a lot of times, like, and I made this mistake too, and I think I'm starting to realize it now. I think we focus so much on a behavior, and not realizing that the behavior, the approach, the behavior focused approach, will never get more people, will never get the most people to actually make a life change, because it's not focused more on the mental aspect. Um, and I don't know, this is why I just think, if you can teach, because I don't know about you, but, I have a lot of perspective on life, because I've had a lot of different experiences that the average 36-year-old just hasn't. You know, some people twice my age haven't had the experiences that I have. And so I think that's why I have so much perspective. And maybe you could relate, maybe not. I don't know. But I just think if people could learn and understand how to think, how to use their own heads, and how to get people to improve their mindset, I just think all these problems are going to go away. Not all, maybe at least most of it. You know, that's just what I believe. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive into believing that and thinking that, but I just think if more people learn how to think for themselves, if we focus more on the mental aspect, mental fitness, whatever you want to call it, I just think we'll eliminate a lot of these problems. Like, if your guy was in the right mindset, you know, you wouldn't have to, you know, even if he wasn't into fitness, if you just said, hey, let's get into this, and he thought about it and realized, like, you know what? Working out is, you know, going to increase the chances of my living longer. Unless there's just some uncontrollable factor, maybe something that's hereditary that's been passed down that I have no control over.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I just think, I don't know. I'm really obsessed with this. Here's another question I have for you. As you've been doing these videos, because this was something that I realized, do you find that you're learning more as you're doing these videos? Like, as you're putting videos together? Because I learned in trying to put the best foot forward and trying to create the best video for people and doing research and trying to understand studies and surveys, I'm finding that I'm learning a lot more than I was when I was just learning for myself. You know? Now that I'm learning for others, like trying to put the best quality video, the highest quality videos that I can out there, I'm finding that I'm learning more than I did when I just read for me. Are you experiencing that?
I know what you mean.
That's really,
Yeah.
when you think about it, it's like it blows my mind. But I'm not. I realize this now as I'm talking to you. You know.
Yeah, I had a weird moment where I do a lot of research beforehand with my videos, and I do a lot of writing and scripting, and I do a lot of brainstorming and deep thinking on concepts, but I never was improving at a rate in the beginning because I was only reading and learning, and it wasn't until later on where I started to put that information into application and I applied it to my life. That was when I made huge strides. And this started with one video I made about eating kiwi fruits. I researched the health nutrition value of kiwis and how everyone says, oh, vitamin C, the oranges are the king. Well, if you look at the kiwi fruit, it's actually super nutritious, right? And so I ate a kiwi every single day for a month. It's kind of like a fun thing to do. And that habit has persisted for over a year. And it's kind of maintained, like it kind of stuck with me. And yeah, kiwis, there's vitamin C, all those vitamins, nutrients, it's good for you, blah, blah, blah. It reduces your sugar cravings. It's like a super sweet fruit you can eat, all that. But it wasn't until I actually applied the knowledge to my everyday life and turned it into a habit. So now, when I go to the grocery store with my wife, I'm not looking for apples or kiwis. Where's the kiwis? Like, where's the green kiwis? Where's the golden kiwi fruits? That is the first thing that I do every single time I go to the grocery store. Is I make that left turn to the produce section. I find where are the kiwis at, because now they have become this, for whatever reason, they become part of my identity. And whenever I have a craving for gummy bears or Twizzlers or some nonsense, I just go and I'll have a kiwi, and it's so unbelievably sweet, and luckily I love the taste, and it just satisfies that craving. And then this like switch goes off in my head where I'm applying the knowledge, and now I see this growth that's happening. And so again, I did this with intermittent fasting, I did this with cold showers, and these are habits that have stuck with me. I have done other things like I kept a gratitude journal for a while where I wrote down every day things that
Yeah.
I'm very grateful
Yeah.
for. And that was a very enlightening experience. But for whatever reason, it was a habit that never stuck. I do it maybe once a month now, but before I was doing it every day. But again, you can't do everything, right?
Yeah.
But it was once the application stuck and turned into a habit, that was when I saw monumental growth, and it was unbelievable. It was like it was so vivid. I could see it so clearly. Like wow, like I don't want to eat those, that chocolate or whatever. I want to do this, or it just, and you notice it like in your everyday life when it just becomes a habit that is second nature, and I don't even think about it anymore. It's just on autopilot. So that was when I noticed the huge
Wow.
like growth or
Yeah, I
whatever
agree.
you would
I
say.
agree. No, I agree. I agree. I think you have to go through the process in order to learn. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, unless you have a mentor or some wise person who's already been through it or seen it or someone who studies it and can give you some insight into, what direction you should take, the only other way is by going through the process. Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
business, fitness, I agree with you because I've had numerous occasions where I've had that same like aha moment and click through, and it's like, oh, but I wouldn't have known. A lot of stuff I'm learning now. I've only,
Yeah,
it's
me too.
crazy. I've only done 18 videos, and the amount of every video that I do you know what I do? Every video that I go do, because ever since I started the videos, I realized like, okay, you know what? I think I started thinking and doing stuff. I'm like, as I'm doing them now, I look at the videos, I go back, I analyze everyone. Um, how was my presentation? Did I organize the thoughts? Because again, I'm not doing like it's just talking, like we're just like comfortably talking now. So I have to structure these videos in a way so that it kind of flows, so it's not all over the place. And so every time I do a
Mm-hmm.
video, I go and I sit there. I'll sit there for like 30 minutes and I analyze. Did I structure it right? What could I have said better? Um, uh, was my intro more than 30 seconds? Was my closing only 10 seconds? How long was the video? And then I'm using that all these analytics and stuff like that. And I look at this stuff, and I'm realizing, just like you said, like as I'm going through the process, I'm learning so much. And I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like after doing just 18 videos over these past 2 months and some change, I think communication by far is the most important skill set that anyone should ever
Mm-hmm.
acquire. Um,
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean.
but I just, and I did a video about that recently. I do think it's the most important skill set that anyone should acquire. And I'm thinking about that because of what you said, as far as like you're going through the process and that's how you're learning. And I think unless you have someone who's a mentor who's been through it, who's going to be willing to take the time to teach you, like the only other way is to go through it, is to mess up, is to make
Mm-hmm.
these mistakes. And I don't know. No.
Yeah, I know what the communication kind of what you're talking about. It's like in the beginning when you make like a specifically a YouTube
Yeah.
video, it's very clunky, it's very amateurish, it's very raw. It's there's no direction. It's just you're
Don't
all
look
over the
at my
place. You don't
first
really
video,
know.
please.
Yeah, it's like me too. It's the same. I'm like fucking weighing my food and weighing myself or something stupid. But but like as you make more, and hopefully people do this, is to develop a type of communication that is true to you.
Yeah.
And this was something that I had to come face to face with myself. And it was something that I hated about myself for so long. And it was that I am very
Yeah.
introverted. I'm talk very monotone. I'm kind of a boring type of person. I don't have that like Peter McKinnon
Yeah.
enthusiastic personality. Like I don't have that. And in the beginning, it kind of made me sad because I thought that, that's what you needed to be
Me too.
successful. That's what you
I thought
needed
that
to
too.
be popular, is to have this, super lovely, extroverted, passionate personality that's just like so beautiful and it's out there and it's
Yeah.
entertaining. And I love that. But then I don't have it, like I don't have it in me. And unfortunately, this is how I am. I'm just very boring,
No,
right?
yeah, I mean,
And when I came to that realization, right, that's when I realized like I need to work on true communication where I'm being completely transparent and honest. And if you look at my older
yeah.
videos, I have this weird like smile and like posture, and I'm like, all awkward and shit, right? But now when you watch my more recent
You're more
videos,
relaxed.
you can tell by my voice, by the way I talk and my mannerisms, like this is who Derek really is. At the end of the day, this is who I am, and there is only one version of you in the
Yeah.
world, and you are
Yeah.
unique, right? And if you can capitalize on that uniqueness and work on a type of communication that is honest, true, and transparent, that is what is so beneficial. But the fake stuff, like if you like, what I'm saying is, if you got that extroverted
Yeah.
personality, congrats, great, run with it. But if you're like me and you don't, it's not the end of the
Yeah.
world. But try to find that voice, that is authentic, because that is what, in my opinion, that will make you successful in the long run, right? Because you're not lying to
And
yourself.
you know what? I had that same. I came to that same conclusion too from experience. Um, and again, using that first principles thinking. It's like here's another way. Like anytime you see something that there's an assumption or a problem, you ask why 5 times. So it's like this problem that exists, why do you think it exists? And then because of that, why do you think this happens? And why do you think, and then you get down to the bare bones and you realize like, that assumption was wrong. So now you have to reframe the whole assumption and reframe the whole problem based off of like that reasoning from using why 5 times. And then after reframing it, you realize like, you know what, this is this. And I say that to say this. I had that same, I came to that same conclusion as far as, you realize it's not presentation, because I thought it was just like presentation too. You have to be upbeat. But I found other people that not only that I've watched, but that have large followings on YouTube who are monotone. And I think,
Yeah.
and I think that whole, I got it. Yeah, I think that's more for motivational speakers. And when we're watching gurus and motivational speakers, people that I'm thinking about like Gary Vee or Grant Cardone, when you watch those people for
Mm-hmm.
things like that, yes, I think you do need more of presentation, because people sometimes they don't even realize that they're coming there for a certain reason, to get motivated. But for people like
Mm-hmm.
us and for others out there who are looking for information, that whole presentation thing doesn't matter. It boils down to, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, the information. And so for me, I think I learned this again. I concluded this from my personal experience from doing a lot of these, not a lot, but so far just doing 18 videos. I realized that, you know what? That actually can be a disservice to you when you're doing that. Because when you're trying to give information, it's more of a serious tone.
Mm.
I don't know if you get what I'm saying. At least that's what
Yeah,
I've
I know what
discovered
you
from
mean.
just 18 videos that I've done. Now, I used to do other videos on my social media platforms, so maybe because I had that experience too, I never really did like, I guess this is considered like long form educational for me, even though some of my videos are only like 8-10 minutes, no more than 12 minutes really, but I used to do like minute instructional videos, minute and a half, 2-3 minute, like so-called educational. But now that I'm realizing, now I'm really doing educational stuff, but I think that's actually a disservice. And again, that was my conclusion from my personal experience that I watched, because I was looking like, you know what? It's not the presentation matters more so when you're in an environment with the people who want to get motivated. I'm already motivated. I'm not looking to get motivated. I'm looking for information. So someone who's I'm trying to take seriously, that I'm talking to, trying to get facts, trying to understand studies, surveys, and reasoning and logic, when you're sitting here, yeah, God's like, to me, I'm just like, no, come on. No, dude, comment, take it down a notch. We're not on the stage. I don't need to get hyped. Just give me the information. So I think presentation in that sense would be a disservice. So you have, I feel like, a unique perspective. Like you have, I don't want you to think like the monotone, just, I think that works. If you're educating people and you're putting out information, again, this is just one man's opinion. We all have our own opinions. That's just what I've noticed. If I'm watching someone and I'm getting information, I don't want someone who's super hyped. Because I'm not looking for the up and down throughout the whole talk. I'm listening for the info. What are you saying that's valuable that I can then use to apply either to my business, into improving my mindset, into improving my communication, into improving my fitness? I'm trying to get the information. So if you're yelling up and down, it's not going to do it for me, I think. So I think that's an advantage. It just depends on what you're going after. Now, again, just from personal experience, if you're going to be a motivational speaker, then that tone is probably not going to work. The whole monotone. Because people want to get hype. Like, yeah, I don't know. Do you know who Gary Vee is?
Yeah, I know Gary.
So
Gary
I noticed when my very first video I posted on September 11th, 2000, and this was like, 9/11. I know you know about that, the whole 9/11 thing. But I remember I posted my first video then, and I didn't have motivation. That was after, this was February 2016, January, February, when I started watching Gary Vaynerchuk. And then September 11th, 3 weeks after I started working at my last job that I just left, that I was there for 3 years at, 3 weeks after getting there, I realized there were 7 other trainers there, and I'm like, I had to do something different. And by then I was watching Gary Vee for about 6, 7, 8 months. And so then I started doing the videos, and I watched him a lot because I did need that motivation. But the minute I was doing, and as I was doing, I was learning, now I was looking for information and facts. I didn't need to get motivated, so I didn't watch him as much. So again, for that era in my life, where I was at, that whole hype, that worked. I needed that. Once I got hyped myself, I didn't need that anymore, and I wasn't watching him as much. Now I watch other channels that are giving me just the information, and so I'm listening for that. What are you saying that I can jot down or that I can record to then go apply? And so for me, I look for the monotone look, and I think I've seen other people who not only I've watched for hours with the monotone voice because I'm just trying to get the information. And then I've seen themselves, those same people who have large followings. So it just depends, I feel like, what approach you're taking in life. Again, you're not trying
I had a Gary
Vee
right? phase too.
You're not trying to be a motivational speaker, right? Then you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Yeah.
I feel like I try it, but it's not like my goal or dream or anything. My thing is is storytelling. Yeah. And kind of it's weird. It's like I have this idea in my mind of getting someone that's a true videographer, not just like a YouTuber with their cell phone, like someone that has true knowledge with videography and lenses and all that type of stuff. Combine that with my love of reading and philosophy and self-development books. So that, very concrete, knowledge base, but also combining that with vlogging and live streaming and podcasts, and try to show this person who is not stuck in one specific box, but I'm challenging myself in all types of directions. And, like a podcast, you can't hide behind my video editing software, right? If I misspeak or say something that's wrong or incorrect, it's a podcast. It's in there. The same thing with the live stream. I can't cut it out, right? Whereas the YouTube videos, I found that I can just hide behind my video editing software, and I could kind of like show the world this type of person that wasn't authentic because I took out all my mistakes, right? And I kind of want to have that vulnerability with the type of content that I'm making, which is also why I like vlogging, because vlogging, you're on the spot, right? So I'm trying to like combine all these things together, and for my one like vision or dream of being a content creator. But at the same time, I think it's very important to do things that are challenging. So if that is maybe one day, like one thing I want to just try is do a stand-up comedy like night at an open mic club. I am not funny. I don't know any jokes. No one has ever told me that I'm funny. I am the worst fucking comedian of all time. There is no way I would be successful. But I would have unbelievable amounts of stage fear because no one's gonna laugh. No one's gonna laugh at what I say. But it's gonna be such a hard challenge that I love those things. Like I love challenges just to try it. And it's sort of like the fitness. The fitness is still there. It's in the corner, right? It's something I can go back to from time to time. Yeah, but it's like a part of the journey. It's a challenge that I can learn from. And so I kind of always I embrace challenges. And I think this is why people need Gary Vee. And unfortunately in our society there is this mindset or mantra that people keep talking about, have work-life balance, mental health, have work-life balance. Like, yes, I get it. However, I think people need someone like Gary Vee more, where they need more discipline in their life because, taking time off work and chilling and watching more Netflix in order to achieve work-life balance, that is easy. That's the easy part, man. That is so easy to do. Like you want to work less and chill more, that is no problem. Anyone can do that. But if you need that discipline, that motivation, that work ethic, that kind of Gary Vee promotes, I think people need more of that because that is a million times more difficult in terms of getting that type of balance in your life. So that's why I think challenges are so important, even though they make you so uncomfortable. And I freaking feel panic now thinking about doing like an open mic night and just people shitting on me, right? But like the challenge is good. It's good for you, right? Like to conquer those fears, and that's how you grow as a person. Because if you never challenge yourself, then what are you doing? If you're not growing, then you're just existing and slowly dying. And that's all it is at the end of the day, right? So that's why I'm trying to maximize all this stuff that I'm doing. I
agree with you 100%. And I agree. It's not
if that makes sense.
No, I agree. I totally agree. Even like I said, whether it's fitness, whether it's you challenge yourself personally, business. I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. You do need to challenge yourself because what's that saying goes? If you're not progressing, you're dying or something. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backward.
Something like that, right?
You can't stay still because life is progressing. So as life is progressing, if you're not moving forward and progressing with it, then that means you're going backwards because life isn't stopping for you. And so I do agree with you. You do need to challenge yourself. That's the only way you're going to get better. I don't know. I mean,
it's huge, man. Challenges are huge, both physical and mental. Like both sides of that is, especially for men. Like like I feel like we have this DNA where we need to lift heavy shit. Yeah. Like we I don't know.
We need to conquer things.
Grown or evolved.
We need to like dominate, conquer something.
Yeah, so I feel like there's something in our DNA that we need to satisfy. And lifting a big heavy rock or something like that.
Let me ask you this: do you think like some people are born with it, or do you think some people do you think is some people just naturally like that, or is it something that anyone can gain, could learn?
I think some people are naturally born with it. But I think everyone can develop it because when I look back at myself, like where I came from and who I used to be, I used to be so shy to talk to anybody. Like when I used to go to Foot Locker to buy a new pair of basketball shoes, I was so socially awkward that it gave me anxiety to ask the person working there if they had my size of shoe. And if they didn't have it in arm's reach for me to just grab it and bring it to the counter and buy it, I was so scared to even ask if they had size 8 or whatever that I was wearing in stock. And that's the type of person that I used to be. I was so introverted. I was so terrified. I was so shy and scared. And it was just like, and like pathetic. Like I was weak. And I was weak because my parents worked so hard for me to have a better opportunity and chance at life. And I grew up in like a middle-class family. I wasn't rich, but I wasn't poor. Like we had food and we had electricity. Like everything was good. Like everything I could have ever wanted is there. But I took advantage of that and it turned me into a weak person. And I was this pathetic human being that couldn't do anything. Like when I got a flat tire, call my dad. I don't know what to do. I didn't have enough money to pay for my cell phone bill. Call my mom. I don't know what to do. I just relied on these people for so long. And I just always thought that I was, naturally just weak, naturally super introverted. But I got over that. And I got over it with hard work and discipline. And now I have no problem talking to anyone. I don't talk to some dude from Germany one time, someone from Brazil. Like, I don't care who it is. Like, I am so comfortable now in my own skin because I've worked on those things. So even though I felt like I wasn't really born with that, that it thing or whatever you want to call it, but I feel like everyone can work at it, and maybe I'll never get as good as like, I don't know, like a Logan Paul character who's super out there, right? But I can always get better than how I was yesterday.
The
right?
boxing guy?
Yeah, the box guy. Yeah, that guy.
That
guy's like the
boxer.
That's like the most
talk about a
entertaining
challenge,
dude, right?
Talk about a challenge. That's a challenge to go from a YouTuber. You could be the next. You could be fighting. You doing this podcast now, and 2 years from now, you're fighting. What's the guy? God. What's the kid's name? Floyd Mayweather.
Mayweather? Yeah. Oh man, I'll pass on brain damage. I'm good. I'll play basketball, but
that's why I stopped. Yeah, I stopped with the boxing too. I used to train with boxing. I was actually
used to box.
Yeah, I was training to go fight. Actually, I used to train with the welterweight guy, a local boxer who's a welterweight champ, and I was training to go fight, but we ended up having a falling out. I mean, I look at that now as a blessing because, as you look at the industry and you're seeing all the brain, I'm a type of person who loves to think. I need to think. I need to think. So the thought of getting brain damage or any of that and not being able to think and reach and live my full potential to me, I think it was a blessing that we had a falling out. And I didn't have to do that anymore. So, but yeah, it was. I don't know. We're always looking for challenges. We always have to try and overcome challenges. Maybe not the physical stuff, but I'll look for other. I'm looking for intellectual challenges now. That's what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. You read a lot? Do you read?
Yeah. Probably too much.
Yeah.
It's because again, I'm super lucky. Like I have a day job where I work for FedEx, right, as a courier.
They're in Canada? I didn't know they were in FedEx, they're probably international.
Yeah, it's like worldwide now. They started in Memphis, right? But so basically just like a courier company, right? And what ended up happening is like, normally you're driving around everywhere delivering like boxes to people's houses and you have like 200 something boxes, right? Like in your truck. But last year I stepped down from full-time to part-time. I had this idea where I was working 40 hours a week at FedEx and I was putting 20 hours a week into YouTube. And I had this idea to gradually bring one down and rise the other. And so I got FedEx down to 30 and YouTube up to 30. So they're kind of even. And now I kind of dropped it again where I do 25 hours at FedEx and 35 hours
That's good.
into YouTube. So I have this plan where I don't know why people say go all in. It's either you have to do a business or you have to do a full-time job. Like you don't. You can do both if you just hustle and you just manage your time properly. And that's what I've been doing. Like you can put in more than 40 hours. You can put in 60, right? So I would do 40 and 20 and kind of gradually shift them. But what happened is when I turned part-time, my role changed to where instead of me delivering boxes all the time, I would go to places in the airport and pick up like a bunch of big stuff, right? But instead of going to like 200 houses, I go to like maybe 18 different companies in one day. So it's a lot less stopping, but a lot of driving. So then that kind of gave me this huge opportunity to listen to 5 hours of audiobooks every single day while I'm at work. And that's what I did. And then this audiobooks, and then also I have like you were talking about like Grant Cardone, like
The
Grant
10X,
Cardone right here, right? Like
I haven't
so
read
like
that one yet, but I do know it's I haven't
this
read
one?
that one yet. What do you think of it? I go through about 1 to 4 books a week between audio and physical books.
To be honest, it's kind of cringy.
I'll say this personally.
It's like
I'm not a big Grant Cardone fan because I feel like it's more hype. Again, I don't need hype.
Yeah.
I'm looking for knowledge and information. I'm looking for education. So the hype, I feel like, again, people who may be attracted to him, maybe it's more hype. But I don't know. I've only watched a few clips of just a few of his talks, and I have yet to come across any value out of those few clips that I've heard from a few different talks. Maybe he does provide value. For me, I didn't find any value. Again, just like Gary Vee, I loved Gary Vee. That was more hype. Get you to do, and he got me to do, and then I moved on. Again, maybe I need to listen to Grant Cardone a little bit more. I don't know. I haven't gotten any value from the few times that I did listen. That's why I haven't really gone into deep into him. And unless I would feel like I would get to know him, that's the only way I would purchase the book. So I don't know. What do you think of him? Like you said, the book was a little.
So to give you some context, so the way I read is, I have a belief of I'm searching for the 100 best books in the world, and I read them over and over and over and over again. And this book I've read 3 times, and it's falling out of that list of 100. And eventually it is going to fall off because there are some very good ideas, like setting 10x goals. Whereas before I had this goal of, for YouTube, I wanted to hit 100,000 subscribers. I want to get that stupid silver plaque. And that was my goal, 100,000 subscribers, right? But my action was predicated on that goal. So I was only putting in 100,000 subscriber effort. And what Grant says is you need to set unreasonable goals that are 10 times that. So I'm like, so I should set a 1 million subscriber goal? So that's what I did. And I'm like, wait, if I want 1 million subscribers, I should do YouTube videos, I should do YouTube shorts, I should do live streams, and I should have a podcast.
Well, it gets you into the mindset of moving differently.
Yes, right? It kind of like lit a fire under my ass and got me into gear, right? And so that is the one thing from this book that in my journal I write down every day what my 10x goal is in one very simple sentence, and it's 1 million subscribers. But the other information from that book, it's good for a beginner, I would say.
Basic stuff.
For a self-development junkie, it's kind of falling out of favor for me. So it's,
no, I get it. I go through. I've been at this for years now. I read. Man, I read and listen. Between reading and listening to audiobooks, I'll probably go through about 1 to 4 books. And most of the books that I read aren't good. But I think I've developed a system that's been working so far. Again, ever since I came across that first principles thinking tool, I apply it to everything. So now when I'm looking at books, I do my research. I look at who's the author of the book. I first look into the author. to see if they're even credible to be speaking on this topic, if they have experience in it. Is this something, maybe they don't have experience personally, but it's something that they've been studying religiously for 10, 20 years. So I'll take that too. And then I'll look at the comments. I just purchased a book, The Richest Man in Babylon.
Oh yeah,
I heard about that
I've
book.
heard of
I
it.
just read hundreds. I've probably read about 200 comments in Audible, because I have Audible that I pay for every month. And then I also looked at the ratings. So right now, what I do is any book that I purchase, it's got to have 2,500 or more reviews on whatever platform, whether it's Audible or Amazon. It has to have at least 2,500 views with a minimum 4.5-star rating on average. And so that's the first thing that even gets me to look into the book. Once I pass that criteria, then I do the homework and see, I read the comments, then I see if the person is even credible. Because sometimes you get people comments, I don't want to just go based off of what everyone else is saying and doing. So I still want to take it a step further and do my own research, because I understand now from learning about the first principles thinking that most people don't actually think for themselves. They're just regurgitating information that they've heard, or their judgments are based off of assumptions, not really breaking down elements and using reasoning from ground up to determine if the decision that they're coming to or the conclusion that they come to is actually. So this is why I now set all these things in place to do all this stuff. And I mean, now, and I've been doing better now, because now more of the books that I'm getting are actually good books. Deep Work by Cal Newport.
Oh yeah,
That,
that's a good one.
to me, a book that I don't get wowed by, that's not a game. If I don't get wowed by it, and to me, if I don't say it's a game changer, in my opinion, it's not a good book. It's just maybe an average book, basic information that I may or may not be applying. But yeah, if it doesn't wow me, and if it's not a game changer, I don't consider it a good book. But Deep Work, The 4 Disciplines of Execution, I did a review on that.
I don't know that
The
one.
four,
4 disciplines of
that is,
execution.
talk about goal setting. I've read a lot of different books on goal setting. One was Measure What Matters. Do I have it here? No, that was, I forgot who the author is. It's called Measure What Matters. That's a goal setting book. I've read a couple goal setting books, but the number one I would say it was a game changer for me was The 4 Disciplines of Execution. I did a review on that one in one of my videos, and people actually liked it, and so I'm probably gonna do more book reviews. That one was a game changer for me, because that really broke down how to really set goals. So that's something, if you haven't come across it, read that one. I put my
Yeah, I have it in
reputation
my
on
Google
it.
tab now. Yeah, I'll add
I
it to
put
my
my
list
reputation on it.
of
You
things.
could bump that to the top of your list. That's a game.
Bump it to the
Bump it
top.
to the top.
Okay.
That's a game changer. That one's a 5-star rating.
My list is very strange. I like to alternate between fact and fiction and
That's
nonfiction.
good.
I usually
That's
kind
good.
of alternate one. So right now I'm reading Harry
Okay,
Potter.
no, that's good. No, seriously, that's good. Because what I do is,
So funny.
I probably wouldn't read Harry Potter, but I mean, I've watched the
Uh,
movie. I'm probably not going to read the book, but that's
yeah.
good though. Because even for me, I learned from experience that it's better to read throughout the day. Like, okay, so I have like my advice kind of books, like my personal development, my self-improvement books that I listen to and read throughout my workday. So from 9 to 7, Monday through Wednesday, I work from 9 to 7. I'm in work mode. And work mode means I'm either training clients, I'm doing research for my weight loss clients, videos for that. I am outlining and analyzing videos to put maybe for self-improvement. Whatever it is, when I'm in work mode, I read and listen to audiobooks that are like personal development, self-improvement. But at night, I read for about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on, what time I put my daughter and son to bed. And I read for 30 to 45 minutes, and I like to read fiction. So that's what I'm doing now, reading fiction at night, because I'm trying to give my mind a break from the analytical calculating stuff, so that in the next morning when I wake up to go to work, I'm refreshed and ready to go at it again. But I just make every minute count, throughout that 9 to 7, 9 to 5, depending on what day it is throughout the week. So, like, I know you were laughing at the fiction, but I read the fiction too. Like, I read romance novels, crime novels.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. But reading those romance novels is funny. People laugh when I say I read romance novels, but I understand women, though. I understand women a little bit. Like, I relate a lot to my girlfriend when I'm talking. I understand it. And I know it's from reading these romance novels. Like, they're reading those novels too. And so I understand how they think, their emotions and feelings. And so, I could communicate with her better. When I'm talking to guys, it's more facts and observations and statistics. When I'm talking to women, like, it's more feelings, expressions, and stuff like that. And I credit that from reading romance novels, in my opinion. So.
That's awesome. You know what's funny, though, about reading fiction books is that this is what I find. Every once in a while, I come across an absolute gem that just changes my life. And this doesn't happen very frequently. And this actually happened last month, where I decided to reread a book that I read in grade 8 or like grade 9 or something, which was 1984 by George Orwell, which is something we had to read in school for, like, I don't know, language or literature or whatever. I didn't think much of it, but I read it last month, and it blew my mind. Like, it just, oh my God, like the whole concept of, because this book, it was written in like 1930 or 1940, I think. And it's weird because I was born in 1984. And this book is about the year 1984 and about how, like, the government takes over the world with, like, mass surveillance. And it's just, it blows my mind. And it led me down this trail to another book called Fahrenheit 451. And that also, that blew my mind. It's where firefighters don't put out fires. They start fires to burn books. And they're destroying information.
Really?
And those two books, it was like, I don't know how to describe it, but it did something to my brain that was so different than a self-development book. Because a self-development book that's nonfiction, it gives you very factual information that you can use to better your life. But these ideas from Fahrenheit 451 in 1984, it gave me perspective on the world, that I need to value my knowledge, my mindset, and my perspective. It's so important. Like, it did something so strange to me. I don't know how to put it into words, but every once in a while, I find like a gem like that. Yeah. It just changes my life, and it's just like, it's amazing.
You need that.
But now, obviously,
it's kind of a balance. You need that.
Yeah.
That's what I said. You gotta have fiction. Like, I don't know. I'm a big proponent of balance. So, like, when I hear you say stuff like that, to me, like, I'm thinking balance. Like, you need that balance. Like, and I've even talked to clients about that who are starting businesses and stuff like that. Like, for me, and with them, like, we'd be like, oh, we want to be a billionaire, we want to do this, and I'm like, you know what? Again, back to that first principles thinking again. Thinking about that, it's like, do I really want to be a billionaire? Like, do I understand the sacrifice? Like, people who are working 80, 90 hours a week, 100 hours a week. I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to die alone. Like, I want to grow old with my girlfriend and build a strong relationship. I want to have a relationship with my kids. And so that balance, I think balance is important. And so just to touch on with you, with the reading, with the fiction, it does something to you. I think that's good. It keeps you balanced so that you're not analytical all the time. Like, you got to give your mind a break.
Exactly.
You have to. So keep reading those fiction books. Keep reading them.
Yeah. I don't know what Harry Potter is gonna do for me, but it's fun at least.
The sword. Zoit! Oh man.
This is like so random. It's so
I've never
funny.
watched. I'm interested in watching the Harry Potter. I've seen like large parts of each Harry Potter, but I've never sat there and fully watched the whole movie. But I do want to at some point. I would like to. Maybe I'll do that this weekend.
Hey,
Yeah,
there you
maybe
go.
I'll do
Just
that this weekend because I
chill
do
out
want to
and just
see it.
watch it.
I don't know. I got my little weirdness too,
That's so
so
funny.
you know.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like I'm into like all kinds of like weird shit, and even like you were talking about balance, and that also I don't just balance like fiction and nonfiction. I like to kind of balance in like a documentary, like real life story, and then maybe um, something about personal finance, and then kind of balance it that way. Because there was also another a book about money, a personal finance book that I read that is going to be on my top
Which one is
100
that one?
list until the day I die. It's called The Psychology of Money.
I've come
Um,
across that in Audible. I think I have that on my
it
wish
is
list.
it's the best in my opinion. It's the
It's a
greatest
white and green
personal
book,
finance
right?
book of
The
all time.
cover's white and
Yeah,
green.
I made a video on
Yeah,
it.
I've
Yeah,
come
yeah.
across it. That's in my wish list stuff too to read.
hmm The whole book doesn't talk about how to make money, how to save, stop,
Yeah,
nothing. All it talks about is the psychology of how human brains work with money
mindset
and
stuff.
finances. That's all it is. That's all it is, and it's
You
amazing.
know,
It's so
if you're
amazing.
interested in that, you know who you should also listen to. There's a Nobel Prize winner psychologist, Dr. Daniel Conahan. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Dan, never heard of him.
Dr.
No.
Daniel Conahan. Look at some of his stuff on YouTube. He has a book. Man, this book is brutal. Like you gotta really, it's some hard slogging getting through this book. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah, I have it in audio. Thinking Fast and Slow. It's a yeah.
thinking
He's the
fast and
creator of that
slow.
book, Thinking Fast and Slow. But if you watch some of his stuff and you're interested in more like,
This guy's a serial
hmm,
killer.
no,
This guy's a serial
no.
killer. Daniel Kahn.
Dr. Daniel Conahan.
Murder.
Put Conahan.
Oh,
Yeah,
doctor.
Put Kahn. A
Oh, I googled Daniel Conahan. It's like convicted
no,
murderer.
God,
Oh
no,
my god!
no. I'm not looking at murders.
I was like, what?
I'm not looking at
That's funny.
murderers. No. Yeah, Daniel.
How do you spell his last name?
Go
K.
Khan. I think it's Khan.
Oh, here.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
short, pudgy, bald head guy, glasses.
Kahneman. Yeah, yeah.
He
Okay, I
was
see.
actually one of the guys who put like the program now that determines the Israel military. Like he was the one who first started. He's a guy
Oh,
who
he's from
talks about
Palestine.
his specialty. Again, he's a Nobel Prize winner, so this guy's like big deal, knows his stuff. I've listened to tens of hours of his video, probably hundreds of hours. But that's his specialty. If you're interested in what you just said, like what you were talking about, the psychology of money,
Mm-hmm.
and he talks about like how like the certain like what do you call that? I just know he specializes in judgment and decision making. Judgment, decision making, like why people do certain things, like with money, with investments, sunk cost fallacy, and all these other
Oh, yeah, yeah.
psychological terms. If you're into that, he's the guy to watch for that stuff. I'll send you the.
Okay,
Actually, let me
I'll
send you the video now for that other tilt thing too. Oh, you see?
yeah. Just email it to me so I don't forget it.
Did I just? Are you? Could you still see me now?
Yeah, I
Okay,
can see.
let me. Maybe what I'll do is actually. Let me do it through my phone.
Daniel Kahneman. What was the book called? What was the title of that book?
Thinking Fast and Slow.
Oh, okay. Thinking
Yeah, he's a
fast.
cool author.
Oh,
You
okay. I
found it?
see it. Yeah.
It's a white
Yeah,
cover
I
with
found it.
red lettering.
Oh, it's recent. 2011.
It's not that old,
That's pretty recent.
but it's a good book. It's some hard
Yeah.
slogging, but it's got good stuff in here. But I would say watch his videos
Hmm.
because you can learn a lot from the videos. Again, his specialty is judgment and decision making. Actually, if you go on, do you have Discovery, the streaming app, Discovery Plus or Discovery? He has a great documentary
No, I
on it.
don't.
Since you like documentaries, he has a great documentary on there called ah man, what is it called? I know you would, based off of talking to you, I know you would love this documentary.
Hmm.
I would recommend watching that documentary first. When you go into
Okay.
Discovery, just put in Dr. Conahan. It's him and two other psychologists, and they go through like New York City and they run these tests on people all throughout the city, cab drivers and regular people.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
It's
wow.
actually it's really. I've watched it like 9 times already. Um, uh,
Yeah, I'm just gonna Google his documentary. See what comes up. It's weird. I've never heard of this guy before. Oh, I see a BBC documentary. How you really make decisions?
You said BBC? I don't think.
Yeah, it says no, that's
I
not
don't know.
it.
I
How you
don't think
make
that's what it's
decisions.
called though. I just sent you the
Hmm.
tilt. What was I supposed to send you? That one you'll have to
Oh well, it's all
download.
good. We'll figure it
All
out
right, yeah,
later. We'll figure it out after.
yeah. It's Let me see. What else was I supposed to send you?
I don't know. We're gonna have a list after this
Yeah.
podcast. All the references and people. If someone's listening to this, they're probably like, "What the hell are you guys talking about?"
No, there's a lot of good stuff on there. There's
Hmm.
yeah.
That's awesome.
No,
Yeah, this guy's pretty old. He's
yeah, but he's
87.
sharp.
So he wrote that book 10 years ago. So he was 77 when he
He's
published it.
sharp. He had a guy he used to work with who died back in I think the early 2000s. His other partner,
Hmm.
Amos something. But he had a lot of good stuff on there.
Yeah, it's weird. Like as the older I get, the more interested I become in like human psychology. I never had any interest in philosophy or psychology or any of this stuff when I was younger, but now it's like I find it so
Yeah.
fascinating. Like just the way human beings
Based
think.
off of
For whatever reason, it's
based off of our
yeah.
conversation, I think you would be interested in philosophy, but the branch of philosophy that you'd be interested in is the one that covers logic and reasoning. Because if you're interested in
Hmm.
psychology and how people think and stuff like that, that's the only branch of philosophy you'd be interested in. All the other branches of philosophy, to me, I've always found boring. Like, I can't. But that branch of philosophy, just put in philosophy, logic, and reasoning. I forgot the name of it. That branch is
Yeah.
more psychology, so you would like that. If you're interested in how people think and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But that's the only branch I would, because I was into that stuff like Ayn Rand and all these different philosophies. Like Ayn Rand was a capitalist. There's other ones who like communist stuff like that. But there's different philosophy. But it's the branch under logic and reasoning. Did you get the name of it? I don't know if you
Mm.
got the name.
I have the yeah. I couldn't find the name of the
If you
name of
just
it.
put
I'm
logic
sure it'll
and
come up
reasoning,
if I
it'll pop up.
logic and
Yeah.
reasoning.
What branch of philosophy is logic and reasoning?
Maybe my wait. Reasoning. Yeah, no, I'll find it after,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah, no, I know.
I got too many tabs open right now. I've got so many references now to go through. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
That should keep you busy for the next year or two. trying to
Dude, I
comb
got.
through all that
Oh
stuff.
man,
Don't go crazy.
I already have like time management issues. Like I did this thing this year where
Routine and
the whole year I
schedules.
tried to
Routine
watch.
and schedules.
Yeah, I tried to watch like no Netflix or movies the entire year
Really.
this year.
I have a
Yeah, I
video on that.
tried. And
Routines and schedules.
oh, did you really?
Routines and schedules. So
Oh,
you can
routines
thank
and
me
schedules.
later.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
You can thank me later. It's
There
what did
you
I
go.
title it again? Let me see. It's on my page. I just put it up too. Not. It's one of my last 3 videos because I had the same issue.
On
Because
YouTube?
again, I'm a creative thinker, so like I'm all over the place. So if I don't get into a schedule and a
Mm-hmm.
routine, I am completely off. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
all over the place.
true.
So for me, I have to do routines and schedules, and that's how I stay productive. Let me see, what video was it?
Damn, bro.
It is. Oh, I titled it. It's the one with my burgundy sweaters. Don't waste another minute. How to make every minute count and master the art of time management. Because I'm the same way. If I don't schedule and have routines, it,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, routine is huge, man.
yeah,
Like it makes such a huge difference when you go from no routine to having like
yeah.
something.
Actually, I
Um,
learned that from a psychologist that's in your country, Dr. Jordan B. Peterson.
Peterson?
Yep, because
Yeah, dude's super famous.
I did his understandmyself.com thing. I don't know if you
Mm,
came across it. It's a personality assessment.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's really good. I think I paid. It's like $10, $9 and some change that I paid, and it breaks down. You take it's like 20 questions per something, like multiple uh, fill-ins, like stuff you have to
Okay, yeah,
write
yeah.
out, and then after that, it gives you a report of your personality. It gives you the weaknesses, what you need to work on if it's stuff that. And so after I did that, I've taken it twice over the past like 2.5 years or so. Um, yeah, for me, it's like the routines and schedules. You'll learn a lot from that too. I think it's well worth it. It's
Hmm.
$10, but it's well worth it. You learn a
Yeah,
lot
that
about
guy's
yourself.
brilliant.
I'm
Hmm.
actually about to do his self-authoring program. Um, I'm starting that tomorrow.
Damn, bro, you got a lot going on. A lot on your plate.
Well, I mean, this stuff like I have to do because I feel like it makes me better. Like, the better I know myself and like why I'm doing certain things in the future, like my behaviors, like I love it.
Hmm.
But like I said,
That's awesome.
I'm taking the rest of these 2 weeks off. But I just put a video up today because I'm taking the rest of these 2 weeks off for the rest of the year to plan content and stuff like that and spend time with family and you know,
Okay.
yeah. Just because I want to enjoy the holidays, I don't want to be stressed out. And
Yeah, me too. This is like my favorite time of the year,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like spend time with the people you love. It's,
exactly.
have dinner together and open presents or whatever, you celebrate.
Yeah,
It's the best
it
time,
is.
So I
My
love it.
mom's
So I'm doing something
yeah,
similar.
yeah. My mother's in another state, and so this weekend I'm gonna go see her. She lives in New Jersey, and
Okay, yeah.
yeah. So the rest of these 2 weeks, I don't want to be stressed out. I'll still be producing. I'll still be making videos, but then I'll be ahead when January starts. So I'll have like 3 weeks worth of videos already made, so that way,
Oh, that's
you know,
good.
um,
Mhm.
which is good. Yeah,
That's something that I need to do is to get
yeah.
ahead,
I mean, it's
but
okay to take a
I
break,
can
man.
never get ahead.
You got to keep your mental sanity. Like you have to, you know.
Yeah.
Like for me, that's one thing I said before I started this YouTube. I'm not gonna let YouTube consume me. I'm not.
Mm.
Like I'm gonna produce, I'm gonna educate people, I'm gonna give my best in every video, and I know I'm gonna get better because I've already noticed how much better I've gotten just from these past 18 videos. And I analyze it all, I watch it all to see every day. I just try to improve a little bit every single day. So that's why I said within the next 2 years, my plan is to have, over 200 videos.
Mm-hmm. That's a good plan, man.
Yeah, my plan is to have over. I'm not lifting my head back up until I have 200 videos. Then I'll figure out which direction I'm taking from there. Am I going to start a course? Am I going to pour more effort into the platform? So.
Yeah, I'm super bullish on YouTube. I feel like they're doing so many things with the YouTube Shorts and the live streaming, and even that applause button that they added where you can tip creators that post videos.
See, I don't have that yet.
And the super stickers,
Patreon?
super chats.
Patreon?
No, it's like they embedded it now, like in the
maybe that's
YouTube.
For you. I didn't get that yet.
No, not all creators have it. I don't have it yet either, but some of them have it, and it's coming soon to everyone. Everyone's gonna have that option.
I really want to get to those 500 subscribers. I know it used to be 1,000. Now it's 500 subscribers that you need to have to get to the community tab. Because I know once I get that community tab, then I'm gonna do my homework and like I'm gonna be asking questions. Like right now, since I don't have the community tab, before the year is out, I'm setting up a platform called Airtable. So with Airtable, I'm going to put that in my comments section. So anyone who has video ideas and questions that they want answered, they can just click on that and go straight to Airtable. So I'm going to make sure I put that as a default in all of my descriptive part of my videos. Mm-hmm. And then another way that I'm going to try and get people to engage is every video that I do. Again, when I start back up in January, every video that I do, the first comment, I'm going to ask a question. So if anyone reads the comments, they can jump in and get the conversation going. And from there, I'll learn too. Mm-hmm. And what I do a lot too is, so like with the self-improvement, I watch a lot of other channels. I look at the comments. So like if there's a video that I want to create, let's just say I want to create a video about attitudes. I'll go on like 4 or 5 other channels that have videos on attitudes similar to the content that I'm producing. And then I'll go through reading like hundreds of their comments to get a feel to see what people are saying, what's missing. I'll look at the videos, and just make it better, including all the stuff that people may not have addressed. Because sometimes you create videos and then there are a lot of things that you don't address, maybe don't think to put it in there to address it. And then when you read the comment section, after you read 100, 200, 300 comments, you'll get a feel of what people are saying, what they're thinking. And so then I get ideas of stuff to put in. Then I go do my research and I just create a better video. Mm-hmm.
Hey man, that's awesome. I loved it. Hey, we hit over 2 hours, dude. I just realized.
Holy shit! Oh my god, my girlfriend's probably like, "Where the hell is he?" Oh my god.
I was like, that was let's wrap the podcast up though. That was awesome.
No, it was good, man. I appreciate it, man. It was great talking to you, man. I love this. We got to do this again.
Yeah, for sure, man. Let's tell the people where they can reach you, your website, all your socials, YouTube, all that stuff.
Right now, everything MTJ Wellness. I am choosing to simply focus on YouTube right now, so MTJ Wellness on YouTube, and my website is mtjwellness.com. I do have my personal brand, My Trainer Jonas, all one word, across every social media site, but I have content fitness stuff on there. I have a lot of educational, instructional stuff on that stuff too. But right now I'm focused on building a business. So MTJ Wellness is what I'm pushing right now. Parallel to also trying to build my personal brand. So that's
all right, there you go. I'll put the links in the description for anyone that's listening to this or seeing it and wants